Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're reviewing WWE Crown Jewel for 2023. Now if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I rate everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. With that being said, let's jump right in with the match from the pre-show. We get JD McDonough going up against Sami Zayn. I like this match, and I think it's one of the matches, there's a couple of them on this card, that are going to set up the War Games at Survivor Series. I think Zayn will obviously be on one side and JD McDonough will be on the Judgment Day side. Although I think it would be interesting if they didn't put JD in and let Rhea go in there intergender in the War Games match. That would be kind of cool. This is a good match. Sami Zayn does pick up the win here. I'm going to give it a 3. It was good. Nothing really great. Nothing spectacular here. Just a pretty good match. Now rolling into the main show, we get Seth Rollins defending his WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. And I really enjoy this match. Although I think we're getting to a point with Seth Rollins where they're doing the injuries, but he overcomes them just a bit too much. He kind of feels like he has that Super Cena or Hawking Up moment, and I don't think that Seth Rollins is that kind of wrestler and should be portrayed as that kind of wrestler. A little part of me wanted McIntyre to win here because I like Drew McIntyre. I like Rollins too, but I feel like his argument is valid. I feel like we didn't get the privilege of seeing McIntyre in front of a live audience as a champion. This is a really good match. Ultimately, Rollins picks up the win. Afterwards, Damian Priest comes out to turn in his briefcase, which he officially turned in, and then Sami Zayn stole and ran away with it. So technically, the turn-in should have counted because it's not his fault the briefcase got stolen after he turned it in. However, semantics. He runs off chasing Sami Zayn. Again, like I said, I think that's going to build to the War Games Bloodline versus Sami and Friends match. I'm going to give this a 4. I thought it was pretty good. Next up for the Women's Championship, we have a Fatal 5-Way. We have Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax, defending against Shayna Baszler, defending against Zoe Stark, and Raquel Rodriguez. I kind of really like when they go to Saudi Arabia, and I know for religious reasons, and it's maybe a little bit backwards, but I like when they're forced to wear the full gear, like fully covering their body, because they always come up with really interesting and cool looking gear when they do that. I mean, Zoe came out looking like a mercenary. Raquel Rodriguez looked like a superhero. Baszler with the gi at first looked really cool. I wish she would have stayed in the gi. Nia Jax basically is the same thing she normally wears. Rhea looked like Rhea always looked, which is a total badass. And that entrance, I don't know the significance of the guys coming out with the lanterns or whatever they were holding, but it was really cool looking. This was a really fun match. I really enjoyed it. Shayna having the 3 women in a submission at once, Nia in the Corakona Clutch and the Indian Death Locks on Raquel and Rhea at the same time. That was really cool. Probably my favorite moment of the match. Rhea did pick up the win here, which, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious Rhea was going to win. I don't see Rhea dropping that title anytime soon. To me, she's building and building to the point where I believe she's going to be the biggest star in the company. Bigger than Roman, bigger than anyone else on this. I think she's already pretty much there. She's the most compelling, in my opinion. She's the one that looks most like a superstar. I mean, she looks like a damn action hero. If you were to tell me that they're going to do a new Terminator and Rhea's going to be the female Terminator, I'd be like, yep, makes sense. I mean, I think she's just built differently. She's a star. I'm going to give this match a 4. I rather enjoyed it. Next up, we have another movie star, John Cena. Going up against Solo Sikoa. And I like this. I like the fact that they have callbacks to Cena and Umaga's feud. I like the fact that the story of the match was Solo trying to silence Cena with the Samoan Spike, which he went for several times. I did think they went a little bit overboard on the attempts and the times he was denied it. But then at the end, we see him hit multiple. He hit 3 in a row and then 4 in a row, and then he started just spamming them. At one point, I lost count of how many he hit Cena with, and basically overkilled him. For the build-up talking about how Cena needs a win and he hasn't had a singles win on television in 5 years, this really made Solo Sikoa feel important. It made him feel like he really is the enforcer of the bloodline. I did like this match. Solo did pick up the win here. I'm going to give this one a 3. Next up, we had a segment which I'm guessing is just for the live audience, or may have even been requested by the Prince of Saudi Arabia. We have Miz TV with his special guest, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. This is honestly the first time I ever seen the gentleman. Ibrahim Al-Hajij, and I may be mispronouncing that terribly, who seems to have some charisma. He seems to have a presence. The crowd ate him up. They seem to love him. They're talking. They get interrupted by Grayson Waller, which, to me, I think Grayson Waller is really growing on me. I feel like he has that smarmy, almost Miz-type character down. I think he's getting better and better every time we see him. The overconfidence, the I'm better than you attitude. The one gripe I'll have is this seems to be going down a path, and it has been for a little bit here, of the Miz turning face, and Miz has historically been a terrible face. I thought this was an okay segment, a time filler mostly for me. Al-Hajij, or I'm going to call him Ibrahim. Ibrahim gets involved with Waller here. Looked impressive. I guess he has a movie where he's wanting to be a wrestler, so that ties in, I guess. An okay little segment. Again, I think it was more for the live crowd. This would be akin to if they were in Boston and brought out Tom Brady, or in like Seattle and brought out Shawn Kemp or something of that effect. Just an okay segment. Like I said, it just felt like a time filler to me. Next up, we have a U.S. Championship match. Rey Mysterio defending against Logan Paul. And I like this. I like the build-up. I like how it started respectfully and slowly devolved into a heated rivalry, basically. I like that they're recalling history, and it's something that I've noticed since Triple H has taken full power. He is willing to treat the fans with a little bit more respect in that aspect, where wrestlers are remembering stuff that happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It's not something like they're blowing off that we just saw Logan Paul debut 2 years ago against Rey Mysterio, and he has a win over him in a tag team match. They're bringing that up as a memory, and I like that they're doing this. I like that they're continuing with that. I like that they're tying that in, because for a long time we were treated like if it didn't happen on this week's Monday Night Raw or in the recap, it didn't happen. This was a fun match. I really enjoyed it. Probably between this and the 5-way were my two favorite matches of the show. Logan does pick up the win when he uses a brass knuckles. Santos Escobar comes out to try and stop him. Unfortunately, does not stop him there. Logan wins the U.S. Championship. The only drawback, I think, is how much is Logan going to appear on TV? Because I assume he's going to carry that belt at least to the Royal Rumble and probably to WrestleMania. I thought this was really fun. I'm giving this one a 4. Next up, for the SmackDown Women's Championship, we have Io Sky going up against Bianca Belair. And I kind of think they're starting to build a frustration in Bianca, kind of like we've seen with Drew McIntyre, where Bianca's going to go over the top and maybe turn heel, which I think will be a good move for her, because I kind of think she's at the point where a lot of fans are sick of her being overpowered, sick of her being the babyface. And not saying that she's a bad wrestler, she's one of the best wrestlers they have. When you look up and down the roster, she's probably one of the most athletically gifted people they've ever hired. This again was another really fun match. Bayley comes out, obviously, because she was going to. We see it coming towards the end. Kairi Sane makes her reappearance or re-debut, whatever you want to call it, to come out and help Io Sky and help her keep her championship, and then also showing a little bit of dissension within the ranks of Damage Control, which is a slow burning story that I think they're telling. I think we're going to see a Damage Control coup where Io and Kairi and maybe Dakota Kai all decide to boot out Bayley and make Io the leader of Damage Control, thus bringing back babyface Bayley, which hopefully it'll be an evolved version. She doesn't just automatically go back to Hugger Bayley, and which I thought was a great character, by the way, don't get me wrong, but I think she needs to keep it evolved with what she's done now over the last few years. I really enjoyed this. Io Sky does pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4. Next up, we have Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. Again, I feel like this was another setup match for that War Games I was talking about earlier. Obviously, Priest being on the Judgment Day side, Cody Rhodes going to join with Sami Zayn. I wanted to like this match more than I did. I feel like this match under-delivered a little bit. I feel like there was a little bit of the specialness was taken away. When you put Priest in a match before the WWE Championship, which I know he still could have technically cashed in on Roman, you kind of lose that kinetic energy of him having the opportunity to cash in. As normal, when we have a Judgment Day match, other members come down. This time it was JD McDonough, who technically isn't part of the group now, but really they should just let him in at this point. Jey Uso comes out to side with Cody to help him out, thus again setting another part of the battle line. So far we have Sami, Cody, and Jey going up against the Judgment Day. We only need one more person, and I think that one person's going to be McIntyre from his earlier backstage segment where Rhea Ripley kind of just looked at him and laughed a bit. Cody Rhodes does pick up the win here. I'm going to give this one a 3. I think it under-delivered a little bit in my opinion. I was wanting better than what they gave. And last but not least, for the Universal Championship, we have Roman Reigns defending against LA Knight. Yeah, I knew that LA Knight had no chance of winning here. As popular as he is, and as much as Triple H seems to love him, I don't think that he's quite ready for this role. Now, do I think 6 months, a year from now, he could mold into that guy that could be a world champion? I do. I'd kind of like to see him slotted in with the U.S. Championship with a long run there, maybe, and building his way up, kind of like we seen back in the day with Steve Austin, where he had Intercontinental Championship runs while he was building himself to be a world champion. People forget that it was a year and a half from Austin 316, when he said that at King of the Ring, to when he became the world champion. And there was all kinds of setbacks put in his way. And I think LA Knight would be best served to have some of those setbacks thrown in his way and overcome some of them setbacks. This to me was one of the worst Roman Reigns matches that I've seen in a while, and I'm not disrespecting LA Knight in this. It fell flat. It didn't feel important. I didn't at any point feel a sense that Roman might lose this, and it kind of felt, no disrespect again, like Roman was fighting a preliminary wrestler. Yes, we had Jimmy Uso coming out and getting involved, but the Bloodline's going to get involved every time. Roman does pick up the win here. I'm going to give this one a 3. Again, I thought it under-delivered. Roman Reigns' matches, they may not be the best, like, match for match, move for move. He might not be on par with, like, Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr., but he does such great storytelling in the match, and I felt like this one wasn't up to his normal standards. I'm giving this a 3. Overall, I thought this card was good. Some things I really like Kairi Sane coming back because she's an amazing wrestler. The women's 5-way match I really enjoyed. Although I didn't like the match, I liked the elevation of Solo Sikoa, making him more serious. I like where we're going. It seems obvious to me that they're building for a certain War Games match at Survivor Series. Some of the matches here were a little bit lackluster in my opinion. Nothing that really stood out to me that 4 months from now, 5 months from now, a year from now, I'm going to look back and say, hey, do you remember this match from Crown Jewel? I'm probably not going to really remember any of them, to be honest with you. Overall, I'm going to give it a 3. I thought it was a very middle-of-the-road premium live event, and if I'm being perfectly honest, it's the most mid live event that they've done all year. They've been on a real roll, and their live events, or premium live events, whatever you want to call them, have all been stellar. And this one just feels like a bit of a misstep. Just to me, I think they could have done more. Roman and LA could have been more epic. I mean, like I said, it feels like a misstep. With all that being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and if you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out. If you made it here to the end, let me know what your favorite match on the card was. Put it down here in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my review of Crown Jewel.